I am a proud third-generation Canberran. I moved out of home when I was 19 and working in hospitality. I could afford to rent my own place, and I had a choice of places to rent from. I chose a bedsit that cost me $65 per week. Like many young people, I worked 2 jobs to pay my rent and to save a deposit to buy my own house. When I was in my 20s, I was able to purchase my first home. Fast forward 2019. Canberra. We are one of the world's most livable cities. But we are not livable for everyone, because a livable city has a diversity and range of housing options that allow all its citizens to be included and participate in their communities. Marie, Gwenda and Joan's story in Hidden Women is an important one that every Canberran needs to hear at this point in time in our housing history. I have had the privilege of meeting and working with these women. And this evening, I would like to acknowledge their courage in sharing their experience of homelessness with us this evening. Now, while each of these women's stories is unique, the number and diversity of Canberrans in housing stress is growing. And the commonality among all these people is a lack of affordable housing options in Canberra. We need to disrupt the private rental market and bring rents down in this city for people who are on a modest income. Did you know that Canberra is now the most expensive city to rent a home in the whole of Australia? So as CEO at YWCA Canberra, we have been contributing to affordable rental properties with a modest 17 tenancies. But it's simply not enough to assist the some 26,000 Canberrans who are currently experiencing housing stress and are at risk of becoming homeless. These people are forced to make tough decisions every day, many of whom are not eligible for public housing because they earn just a little too much, but they are not able to compete in the private rental market. These people are making a decision to forego a meal for themselves so their children can eat, to put off seeing a doctor for a health concern, because they are paying more than 30% of their rent, of their income, to maintain their housing. And that is the definition of housing stress. And nobody in Canberra should have to experience this. So over the last few years, I have been looking at what's been occurring in other jurisdictions, both within Australia and internationally. We have engaged philanthropic funders. I have met with property investors and property developers, and we have put in place some legal structures and a business model, and we have come up with a solution, an option. Now, it's not a silver bullet to end homelessness, but it is one option that you are able to be a part of and contribute to the affordable rental pool here in Canberra. RENTWELL, ACT's first charitable property management service, a social enterprise that is delivering affordable rental properties to the Canberra market. So through RENTWELL, we will lease privately owned investment properties and they will be rented out at less than 75% market rent. Now, you might all be sitting here thinking, who is going to voluntarily lease out their property at less than 75% market rate? Well, the property investors we've brought on so far are doing this for one primary reason, supported by the levers we've put in place in RENTWELL. and that's philanthropy. They want to help a fellow Canberran who is struggling, even if it means they will derive a smaller income on their investment. They want to contribute to Canberra's housing. Now, we have put some time into thinking about some significant levers to support this. And the first is thanks to the ACT government. Because when you lease your property through RENTWELL, you are exempt from land tax. So in order to be exempt from land tax, you must lease your property to a community housing provider, which YWCA Canberra is one of, at less than market rates. The second reason is YWCA is a charity, and we have an approved class ruling from the Australian Tax Office that you will receive a deductible gift receipt for the market rent foregone. In other words, you are making a donation to a local charity that is directly alleviating housing stress to a Canberran. The third lever is you will lease your property directly to YWCA Canberra and not the tenant, which gives you the assurance of receiving your rent on time for the duration of the whole lease. So it's early days in, we only launched in May. And the reason and the own stories of property investors who have signed up to RENTWELL are nothing short of incredible. Our very first property investor is happy for me to share her reason why RENTWELL was the right choice for her investment. Many years ago, this woman found herself homeless and her children. She is now in a position to contribute back to her community. We have leased her property through RENTWELL, and we have tenanted it to a single parent family. Mum has returned back to work and her child is going to the local school. Because when you relieve housing stress and the ever-present fear of eviction, you give people back their agency and they are able to contribute in their communities. So with the driver of philanthropy and the levers we've put in place, what is the small loss of income? So just say you're on the 43% income tax bracket and you have a one-bedroom property to lease through RENTWELL. The income foregone per week is approximately $20. A few cups of coffee, a takeaway pizza. For a modest three-bedroom home, it's approximately $50 per week. So this continuous flow of philanthropic property investors continues to reinforce my belief that when we are in a position to do so, Canberrans will help lift one another up. So in terms of tenants, we have been inundated with inquiries, and we are now busy matching single-parent families, older women, mature-age students and young families to the properties that have already been leased through RENTWELL. Now, these are everyday Canberrans on a modest income who aren't able to maintain a tenancy in the private rental market. These are people like Marie, Gwenda and Joan. They have made their home in our properties. They maintain a dignity in their home and they pay their rent on time. Because when your rent is within your income threshold, you pay it. It's not rocket science. So it's now up to people like us to make Canberra, in truth, a truly livable city where we have a diversity of housing options. So in terms of tenants, I'm really excited to let you know today that we are on target to reach 25 properties by the end of this year, and a further 50 by the next year, and 150 properties by 2021. That's 150 families housed, children able to be re-engaged fully in their education, people able to return to work, and most importantly, people able to retire with dignity. So you may be a property investor, or you may know someone who is a property investor. So you can join with us and take a practical, tangible, and life-changing step in our Canberra, in our community. We do not live in a bubble in Canberra. We are a community of people. We can do things differently. Become a philanthropic investor, and we can give everyone a place to call home. Thank you.